Have you ever felt trapped in your current job or career? I know I have felt that way in the past. I met David at one of my resume writing workshops a few years ago. David had just turned 40 and was recently laid off from work. David was an engineer who had built his career working in technology companies. And David didn't like his job. But he had invested so much of his life into his career that he felt obligated to stay. He thought it would be too risky to even contemplate a change, so he had resigned himself to the idea that he was stuck there. He was never going to be the person who loved his job. It broke my heart to hear the disappointment and resignation as David talked. There was a time when I, too, believed that it was too late to change my mind and change direction. I now know that it is never too late for anyone to make changes to find happiness at work. The average person spends more waking hours at work than any place else, including time with family and friends. And at the same time, the average person spends very little time thinking about how to love their job. If you're going to spend so much of your life and time at work, wouldn't you prefer to enjoy that time? What if you could get up in the morning and look forward to going to work? Well, here are 3 key elements to making work a happier experience for you. Number 1, daily activities. What do you do at work? What are your main tasks and activities in an average week? Are you using your strengths? Are you using the strengths you love to use? Many of us fall into a job or career path and find out that as we do it, we don't really like what we do. It takes far more effort to get out of bed and go to a job where you don't enjoy the things you do. David began his career as an engineer, and then because of his experience, he moved into project management. David loved the hands-on problem-solving work he did as an engineer, but he hated managing projects and people. He felt removed from the work. If you are no longer doing work you enjoy, then it's time to reevaluate your career and look for work where you get to do the things you're great at and that you enjoy doing. Number 2, core values. This is one of the most overlooked or ignored elements to job happiness. What are your values at work and in life? What are the values of the company you work for? Your values don't need to match, but they do need to be compatible. If your values are in conflict with those of the organization you work for, you will never be happy there. You will always feel conflicted in some way. And you cannot change an organization's values, nor should you try to change your own just to fit in. In David's case, he valued risk-taking and trying new things. And he worked for a company that did not like to take risks on any project. They only wanted to follow the tried-and-true proven methods. Neither value is inherently wrong, but they are in conflict. David wanted to try new approaches and solutions on his projects, and he was not able to do so. This left him feeling extremely frustrated about his work. If your values are in conflict with those of the company you work for, then it is time to move on. And in order to increase your happiness at your next job, be sure to research the company values before you accept an offer. Number 3, roles you play. Are you part of a team? Are you the expert in something? Are you a manager or a team leader? What roles do you play? And what roles do you want to play? David loved being the expert on a team. He loved being part of a collaborative team. And in his last job, he was the project manager on the team, but he wasn't involved in the project. He felt like he wasn't contributing because he wasn't in the role he loved most. He felt separated from the team rather than part of it. And in order for David to be happy at work, he needed to be a contributing part of the team, not managing it, but doing part of the work. That's the role in which he thrived. If you find yourself in a role you do not like, that is something you can change by speaking with your boss. Let her know what you want. Ask her how you can move into a position where you serve in that role. And if she says nothing can be done, consider transferring to another department. As David began to use these 3 keys to finding happiness at work, he was able to transform his career into one he enjoyed. He is now employed at a company that he likes, in a job he loves doing. Once you start asking the right questions, you too will discover what you can do to improve your own work experience. So which key unlocks the mystery to being happy at work for you? I'd love for you to share them on my blog.
I told you, Eric, we gotta let the paint fumes out, so just be patient. You've mentioned this 3 times already. What's really going on inside? You don't seem happy.
Man, here we go again. Same issue, new job. Look, there's something really stirring in me for the last few weeks now. I've been wanting to say something, but seriously, I've been afraid. You got a minute? I know we were busy with paperwork, but really, can we just talk for a minute? You're my boss and I gotta let this out or else my health is gonna suffer.
All right, I got 5 minutes. Time is money and I gotta get out of here for an evening meeting. I am missing dinner with the family. So what is it?
Well, I am new here. I've been watching things for 3 weeks now. Feeling how I've felt here, and feeling things out. This is my chosen vocation. I went to school for this kind of job. I love it. But it seems I always get back to this same place at each office I work.
All right, tell me, Eric. Let's be candid for a moment.
That feels good. Okay, so I've worked for you for 3 weeks. I like it here. Can you start by sharing with me overall how you feel about my work performance? Are you happy that you hired me?
You know, I am. I've been surprised you excelled faster at your duties than I thought you would, and you appear to be making the clients happy to come in to see me. So, yes, I am happy with your overall performance.
Okay, great. That takes a load off. We can work with that. I'll start by saying that most bosses naturally feel they have to maintain attention at work, like holding a carrot over an employee's head that is their paycheck. They keep this tension, this carrot, by pushing the employees with tension to produce more, as if to say that if they don't produce to their expectations, then they'll take away our check. They keep us in fear using this job as the reason one should perform above and beyond.
Wait. Are you saying I've been slave driving you? Are you blaming me for your exhaustion?
Okay, let's start back over. Here's my point. You like my work performance. I like this industry. But during the day, there is a lot of unnecessary pressure I feel I am receiving from working here. So at the end of the day, I am left less than satisfied with my experience here. I wonder when it will change.
And this pressure's coming from me.
Well, sort of. On my end, I am just not strong enough to not be affected by what I am feeling. But yes, that's my point. We like the job, but we are wondering if the whips will ever be put away.
We? What do you mean by we?
Well, that's just the thing. I've mentioned my feelings to a few co-workers during the lunch break, and it seems others are feeling the same tension. We all enjoy being here, but we're always just a hair away from being allowed to be one big happy work family, able to let our hair down and be who we truly are inside, rather than these fake work personalities.
Excuse me.
Okay, now I really got the butterflies in my belly. Just hear me out. This isn't easy for me.
You've got 2 minutes, mister.
See, this is what I mean. We all want peace. We all want to be happy. And I mean to be happy at all times of the day. Being at work doesn't mean we have to be serious. Being at work doesn't mean we have to suffer. That's just an old washed-out paradigm, an old energy, that still exists in this country that hasn't gone away. It says, come. Harm your health with us. Lose yourself with us in the drama. And if you don't, then you're not one of us. You're not a team player. But, it's a washed-out program from how our fathers tried to raise us. It's an old slave-driven, unconscious mentality that doesn't serve us in any capacity.
Paradigm. Energy? You had better start making sense of all this.
Miss Maureen. Bring your awareness to your chest, to your shoulders, to your belly. Bring your awareness to your smile, or lack thereof. Do you notice tension, or happiness? Do you think it is tension or happiness that allows for one to have a long life free from disease? We all talk about being healthy and peaceful, but we are packing in the pills and falling over with exhaustion as if we have to be living this kind of suffering. But I've been reading a lot about fascinating pioneers in the field of life improvement, and they clearly show how we can have any experience we want to each day. We create our reality. Tense or peaceful, rich or poor, we can have whichever experience we want to. But we have this current reality 'cause we got it by default, focusing on the negative, rather than trying a little harder to consciously direct our society into a higher form of itself. This stuff is well known in other countries.
Who did I hire? Are you some kind of new age quack? It resonates, but that stuff just doesn't work. We live by human nature, and this is how it plays out. I had to live this way when I was growing up, and so we pass this on to you and your generation.
And that's my point exactly. When do we cut the chain that binds us to the past ways that don't serve us anymore? And what chain link is the best one to cut it at? There's something funky going on in work society. I've heard this same thing from restaurant workers, engineers, teachers, and car washers. It's exactly the same everywhere. Drama comes up. A grass fire has emerged. Everyone at work gets all up in arms, and it's as if you have to get up in arms with them, to lose your health and sanity with them, otherwise you aren't a team player. But getting up in arms with the drama means losing your balance. And when the balance is lost, we make poorer decisions. But I want peace. I want flexibility without micromanagement. I trust myself to carry out my duties the best way I know how without projecting back at you to see if I am doing the job right. But at the end of the day, we push each other, we shoot and yell at each other, we threaten each other, we leak our imbalances on one another. It totally sucks.
I see. I now feel you, where you are, how it feels. But we can't afford a managerial consultant to come in and fix things. What do you propose?
I don't think we need a consultant either. This is simple human nature, if we can just keep working at it until it smooths out into a new way. When I visited India, Sri Lanka, and Pakistan last year, I noticed how things were completely opposite than they were here. People acted a certain way at home, and they acted the same way at work. Work was a simple extension of their life at home. No distinctions like there are over here. So one understanding is to allow ourselves to be ourselves at work. I know most bosses are fearful of this cause they think a person will start coming into work drunk, but that's fear. We need to understand that imbalances like drinking and anger happen because we have this fictitious noose around our necks that's causing us to squeeze out the pressure into places that we shouldn't be entertaining in the first place. In effect, we raise the morality of our society just by easing up on the grip we place on one another.
And how do I become more aware of that? How do I know when I am forcing you to do something or micromanaging you rather than feeling like we were collaborating with you on something and you were carrying out a necessary aspect of a project for me in a short amount of time?
Awesome. I am so happy you're open to this discussion. I know this is a touchy topic. I've been watching this at 5 jobs I've had for the last 8 years. This is like cutting off the social umbilical cord, and people don't like it when you cut it off. But it isn't real. Leading people using fear isn't real. Leading them with trust does. Leading them with peace does. Why does this work? 'Cause it is what we ourselves are. We ourselves are trust, are peace. So we ourselves naturally want peace and trust in return.
So if I am used to watching over your back to make sure you are getting it right, or so you're not wasting time.
That's the link. That's where this goes wrong to begin with. It's about you now beginning to place your awareness on yourself. Come from yourself. You can coach me now and again, but no projecting, no leaking, no insinuations, no projecting your positive or negative personality traits onto me. And this is done very simply. Ready? You do it by keeping your awareness on yourself. You keep your awareness on your breath. You notice the quality of your mind. You notice your thoughts and yourself more instead of what's happening around you. We're all broken in some way. Do I want to judge everyone and find their faults, or do I want to work on improving my own? And I can only do this by keeping my awareness on myself and noticing my own life and actions more. One of the challenges is that when other coworkers don't know this, they start getting really angry that you aren't plugged into the drama. They feel that without being plugged in, you aren't producing as much. But the opposite is in fact true.
Can you give me some examples of where this has worked? 'Cause if this can bring more peace and productivity, as you say, then it may be worth trying.
Okay, let me think of a couple here. Give me a minute.
Oh, God, it's getting close to the meeting time, and I haven't finished 3 pages from their proposal. Can we finish this tomorrow? I want to hear it, I really do. But there is no time.
Follow me into the break room for a second. Oh, it's quiet back here. The fact that there's no time to talk and you having to leave, well, that's also part of all this. There never is enough time. There is this present moment, honoring it fully. In this country, we always try to squeeze 3 things into one space, but the truth is that only one thing will fit there. Anything else harms our health and peace of mind. We must accept that this moment is all we have. And since this is the issue that has come up for this moment, we either honor it and finish this talk, or we try to finish it tomorrow. But it will have diffused, and we'll go back to our old no-fun patterns. So take a deep breath, and tell me that we can, or cannot, finish this talk now, so we can start a new office right with peace and quality productivity.
You've put me into a precarious position, Eric. I am a bit flustered, but I am intrigued by this conversation. So I will hear you through.
Thanks, Maureen. I have some examples of how this plays out. It's kind of like talking about God. Sometimes you gotta talk about what God isn't, so you get down to the answer. There was a job I had in Colorado a few years back. The owner had a very strong opinion about everything in life. Very dogmatic, very, this is the way it has to be. I gave into it and never shared my opinion around him for 1.5 years, out of fear he would fire me if he really knew how I felt. Finally, I exploded by writing a 5-page letter to him, leaving it on his desk, and walking out on the company. I had lost my power, all my courage. I didn't know of any other option at the time. I was wet behind the ears when it came to working in a small family-owned company with sharp personalities. I learned the value of my need to communicate openly, always sharing, so I wouldn't bottle things up. And for this reason, we were able to talk about this issue right now.
In an ideal world, I would hope you can feel comfortable coming to me and sharing your life. I don't mean to depersonalize things so much.
Well, it's that depersonalization that in fact makes use cogs in a wheel and keeps turnover rates very high. My father's office had an 80% turnover rate within the first 4 months of a person working for him. It was amazing. And this stemmed from his Hitler style of running his company. It was like Donald Trump, you're fired. So having an opportunity to share one's feelings is essential. And to share them without fear of retribution. At 2 places I worked, it was like a dysfunctional office family. It was the drama and depression that bonded the family together. I remember during one meeting, a few grass fires had arisen, and the boss wanted us to piss them all out right away. I kept a peaceful demeanor about me. I stayed relaxed while thinking of a proper plan out of the mess. But the whole team looked at me with anger saying, "You don't care at all." The truth was I cared, but I didn't want the grass fire to negatively affect my balance. My awareness was first on peace. But they unconsciously equated caring with losing it to the drama and being depressed. The work and drama was the top priority and health was the last. I often was passed up on great opportunities to move up, because I was seen as someone who didn't care. But whenever I was in a meeting with the group, they would always remark on how clear and positive my ideas were.
I've been managing this office for the last 3 years, having moved here from the north. Now that you say these things, I remember things being more progressive and relaxed up there with some ideas I always wanted to do here but never got around to.
Even Stephen Covey talks a lot about the 4 quadrants of productivity, and how grass fires are but a small aspect of each day that should be dealt with while maintaining perspective on the foundation of activities one is undertaking. But that's besides the point. I want to focus on this concept of projecting and lack of trust. I have 2 friends who work at restaurants.
Eric, this is a professional office, not a restaurant.
We have to see this topic as human nature. Humans are the same across the board. Any industry, any job, we will see the same issues arise in different ways. So forgive me, but I feel it's quite relevant. One friend worked under an intimidator/interrogator type of personality. She was hired to serve drinks. That's it. And under a waiter salary with lunchtime shifts and few tips, she was barely making minimum wage. He'd watch my friend to see if she'd slip up some way to come down on her at any moment. So most her time was spent learning how to shield herself from his energy. Can you imagine? She's hired to serve drinks, but instead has to learn how to become very strong internally to keep his projections out. His attachments wouldn't let him accept the way she was, rather, he wanted things the way he felt they should be. But that's an impossible request. If you cannot have fun at a restaurant, where could you have fun?
Well, maybe he just wanted her to do a good job.
Evolution into a better person or business is natural. But inside, it was spoiled by his lack of trust. My other best friend works at a very conscious restaurant in town. Everyone there preaches spirituality, love, connection, and family. But the reality is that the boss runs the place like a control freak, keeping everyone extremely tense and in line. She constantly says she likes everyone's performance, but then she runs around whipping people into shape with glazed eyes. No idea she leaves a whirlwind of dust behind her filled with anger and disarray. Conscious restaurant on the surface, but if you dig a little, it's just like every other place, driven by fear of losing the edge in business. It's important to note that these traits of this boss are what made the company #1 in their niche, but at the same time, it's gotten out of control in a few key areas that haven't been consciously addressed. So every worker suffers.
Wow, it's as if the company has its own personality, its own issues, its own karma and luck.
Yes. When the boss isn't around, the place works magically well because people have pride in working at the coolest restaurant in town. But when she's there, the place is operated by tension, double shifts, and fear. This works against that law of attraction. And let's not mention government jobs and the teaching administration of most schools in the country. Lots of stagnant energy, looking over one another's shoulders, projections, and fear of losing one's jobs.
Okay, so what does work? You've gone on and on with negative stories. How can we all be happy here? And how do I maintain that fine balance of boss and employee relationship, so I can trust you doing a good job, producing well, and increasing our bottom line?
I believe openness is key. Accepting we don't have all the answers. That means keeping our awareness on ourselves, focused on our own mind, and not the shortcomings of others. Also leaving me alone from time to time with trust that I can handle it all. My brother works for a guy who appears to be a dream to work for. This guy clearly has his own challenges, but he works to keep his awareness on his own mind and not projecting it onto his employees. In fact, he sees his employees as real people who have drifted into his life by the graces of the universe. When my brother asked him if he was happy with his performance, he simply responded, "I don't care if you take longer than what we allotted to do a task. I just want to know why, so we can understand how to improve it in the future. I am most concerned with you being blissful while on the job." Isn't that amazing?
Bliss doesn't translate to profits. Does it?
It has everything to do with profits. Remember when everyone was getting laid during the Bill Clinton era? People were happy and profits were high. And haven't you heard the saying, "A happy wife is a happy family"? The employees are the wife, or the engine of a company. And they can self-regulate themselves when you give them your trust. They really know when the time is to party, and the time is to work.
So if I ease up on you, focus on myself, mind my own business, and rely on you exactly for everything I clearly ask of you, then I can let you do it in your unique way, releasing my control over you?
That's what I am saying. I heard a lot about this from a guy named John Positive. He loves observing companies, families, and systems to see how to improve them. He said a few ideas that hit home. 1. Keep your awareness on yourself at all times. Notice the mind or your breath or your body. Ask him for clarification on this. 2. Be open, giving, and grateful of your employees. 3. Make health and happiness your first priority in life. And I mean, first. 4. Be consistently involved in a weekly personal development group which provides an open space to voice challenges and grow through them rather than bottling them up and living on fear. He even runs a free weekly coaching group, but there are many across this country.
Eric, you've given me a lot to think about tonight. I am obviously late to my meeting, so I'll cancel and just focus on some new ideas for our office tonight. And it looks like I'll have to start looking deeper within, to find out what I've been projecting and how to grow in my own awareness. Look, why don't you go home now, and we'll meet up for lunch tomorrow, it'll be on me. Does that work for you?
A huge weight has been lifted. I know we'll be happier. I am a natural spokesperson, and I get really behind positive things. How about let's follow up each week on Monday nights to talk about how things are improving? I know it's our right to enjoy working and serving others. And I know we can improve our working relationships. Let me be the one to prove to you how much peace and fun this will be. I'll see you tomorrow, Maureen.